What is up, Bolts from the Blue? This is David Marver, and this is the 3D representation of the three scores I've been introducing over the past couple weeks. Z-Speed score, which is just a better version of speed score in my opinion, foot speed, and punch score. And what you are looking at here is a cube, basically, where each sphere within this cube represents one individual running back who participated in all three of the 40-yard dash, the bench press, and the broad jump at the NFL Combine since 1999. You'll also notice that each of these spheres is colored, and basically that's a representation of the quality of the player. So the white player has never played in the NFL or had a career approximate value, according to Football Reference, of exactly 0. The blue players are the best players, and that works on down through gray to gray-yellow down to yellow. Yellow being players with very, marginal value at the NFL level. So let's take a look at this. I am going to rotate this until we're looking at Z-Speed score against punch score. It's a little difficult to, look at this in 3 dimensions, so we'll look at it in 2 dimensions and continue to rotate this cube. So here we go, Z-Speed score against punch score. These are the two ones. Foot speed, you can kind of see here where my mouse is. That's the 3rd dimension, but you can't really interpret it much right now. What you can see with Z-Speed score and punch score, though, is what I consider to be a pretty clear trend. First and foremost, speed score obviously matters. These scores, -1 on over to the right, those players rarely succeed at the NFL level. Additionally, if you look at punch score, already if you had gotten rid of those Z-Speed score players and you were saying, okay, now which of these guys with a reasonable speed are going to succeed at the NFL level, well then, the ones with high punch scores seem to be performing very well. And I think this is a useful tool, because right now what we're doing is essentially, we're getting rid of this, or when I say right now, I mean, typically when we look at just speed score and we say, Mario Fan's going to be a great NFL player, or Brian Westbrook's not going to be a great NFL player, we're really eliminating these other dimensions, and we're pushing all the data down into one dimension. And what you end up with is something that isn't as valuable as it should be. So now what we have is that this upper left quadrant, in my opinion, the quadrant with the most blue, right around here, solid players, those are players with positive Z-Speed scores and positive punch scores. And so that means the player is faster than players of the similar weight as he is, or he is, his combination of speed to weight is more rare than other players. In addition, the positive punch score means that the proportion of his body mass that is comprised of upper body weight, approximated by his bench press, is higher than his peers. And so this makes sense, right? Intuitively. Players that are faster than their weight, they're going to hit harder, and players that have more upper body mass are going to be able to do things like lay down stiff arms or potentially break tackles, all those other good things that that make a running back successful. In addition to this, though, we can do better. We have this extra tool I've developed called foot speed, which allows us to identify some of these other anomalies. And this is good because there are different archetypes for running back. Not all the running backs are the same, and it's good to be able to identify guys like, for example, Darren Sproles, Leon Washington, those type of players who look and act very different than a traditional running back on the field. It'd be nice to know, can we identify these players in the data and properly diagnose that they're going to be good or bad, despite what the Z speed score and punch score say about them. So I'm going to rotate this plot so that we're looking at Z speed score against foot speed. Okay, so foot speed is now the up and down axis, with the actual better ones being on the bottom, and Z speed score, the better ones on the left. So it's kind of a reverse view than what you would look at in school, for example. What do you notice? Well, what I notice when I look at it is that the players with high speed scores tend to be fairly successful, especially the ones with the highest speed scores, foot speed scores. These anomaly guys. These three are in order: Leon Washington, Darren Sproles, Javid Best. These are guys who, if you look at it back on Z speed score and punch score, they're not scoring well. And these players are left out in the dark. So it's nice to be able to identify that. Additionally, what I think is probably more useful is that if you look at the high negative speed scores, if you look at the proportion of players who never play in the NFL and don't succeed versus the rest of the population, you see that there is a cutoff point where you can say these guys, their foot speed is lacking. They're not going to succeed at the NFL level. They won't be shifty enough, or whatever the reason. And so with this, we now have a subset of running backs that is even better than we had before. We can explain away a couple of these guys who have high speed scores that aren't succeeding, or guys with high speed scores and nice punch scores that aren't succeeding based on their foot speed. And so we've been able to harvest the data a little better, including this. So that's basically it. It's kind of cool to play around with this and look into it. I wanted to add some extra dimensions, like maybe making the size of the spheres different, but I wanted to introduce this to you first. Maybe if someone has a really good idea on what to do next, I'll go ahead and code that up. In the meantime, thanks for listening. This is Bolts from the Blue. Stay tuned. We have more draft coverage coming.